If all men tomorrow decide that women in the United States are slaves, are women in the United States slaves?
No.
Today we're diving into Andrew Wilson debating modern feminism, first-wave feminism, capitalism, and what freedom really looks like. On one side, Andrew argues that a lot of what's sold as liberation is actually just debt, stress, and the illusion of choice. I'll let most of the debate play, but I'll jump in a couple times to break down the key points and call out the moments that really stand out.
When you're talking about Marxist feminism specifically, you would have to kind of hate first-wave feminism because
in a lot of notions I do, because I do think it ignored the material conditions of poor women, women of color. So, yeah, I don't disagree.
Okay.
Just, I'm sure you support capitalism, right? Do you like social democracy?
Well, I'm not sure that that's contingent on capitalism.
That is a capitalist mode, just like a laissez-faire free market would be. There's different ways that capitalism can be structured, and you can agree with one.
Yeah, but capitalism is an economic system. It's not as much of a political theory as Marxism.
I'm just showing how an idea can have different theory behind it.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. I'm talking about the prominence of the ideas themselves.
Sure, I guess if I must not have understood. No, yeah. I don't agree with some of the modes that liberal feminism or first wave feminism, as you've called it, have used.
So then wouldn't you agree with me then that it actually would have been more liberating for women to not have participated in first wave feminism but instead relied on their husbands? Wouldn't that have actually been more liberating than sacrificing them to the sacrificial lamb of capitalism?
Which is worse? I don't know. There's just so many metrics that you can evaluate when it comes to...
Well, this is the metric we're evaluating. So the metric we're evaluating is, my argument is, if women are dependent on their husbands and accrue no debt, only the husband can accrue debt, but women can still own assets, which they could. And they could still own property, which they could, even if they were married.
Right, but you're forcing a woman to link arms with a man. So if she's single, does she have access to these things?
As opposed to forcing her to go to work.
Does she have...
Here we go. So apparently being married or financially linked to a man is oppression, but clocking into a 60-hour work week for a boss who gives you nothing but stress and a paycheck? Totally fine. You'd think some of these women would realize they've swapped one authority figure for another. A husband at least offered protection and stability. Now, your boss offers you a spreadsheet and a migraine. Dependency is still dependency. Only the flavor of chains has changed.
Does she have these things?
Yeah, yes, of course.
How would you have these things?
How would they not have them? They were able to own property even unmarried. That's always been the history of the United States.
Right, but obviously then you would need to be in the workforce, correct? Because you need to purchase it?
No, you wouldn't need to purchase it. Oftentimes your father would give it to you.
Oh, so just through, again, generational wealth.
Yeah. Which, by the way, first wave feminism destroyed a lot of that too. A lot of cross-generational wealth. But women could own property.
Sure. I mean, I would say, why would I have to pick one?
Because your choice is either you go to work, right? You either want equality or you don't want equality. So if the idea is I want equality, and that's what
I think it would be more beneficial for women not to be dependent on men and to have more liberty.
Than to work within the capitalist system?
Yes.
Why?
Because they would have more control, autonomy, and identity.
Bingo. Here's the reality check nobody likes to admit. Most of that so-called freedom is choosing between burnout or debt. Autonomy? Sure, technically you can make your own choices, but they come with a side of endless stress, student loans, and the illusion that a paycheck equals empowerment. Andrew's point is brutal but fair. You can have all the choices in the world, but if every option comes wrapped in pressure and financial strain, is it really freedom? I mean, I've seen friends rave about being independent while pulling 70-hour weeks just to pay off degrees they didn't even want. Autonomy doesn't feel so empowering when your life is a spreadsheet.
They don't seem to have more control over either of or any of those things. Example, the identity of woman now in modernity is in question, period.
What do you mean?
What is a woman?
Oh, we're going there now.
Well, you just said women would have more identity. Because
Yeah,
and more
identity in
autonomy.
terms of
But
if you're going to be dependent on a husband, then your labor is predetermined for you. Your identity in terms of being a wife and mother is predetermined for you.
Yeah, but the beneficiaries of that is that your accruement of debt is also non-existent, and so you can never
It's
be a
not
slave
really
to
non-existent because
capitalism.
your husband has it as well. So I mean, there is still capitalistic threats.
You were not ever
and you don't
responsible
have-
for your husband's debt.
But you still suffer the outcomes if it doesn't work out, right?
Yeah, but you suffer the outcomes of that now under
right,
capitalism.
but you would have more control and autonomy, right?
You don't
know,
seem
it's
to
either
have-
like you're
I
the
don't
captain
see
of
how
your own
women
sinking ship, or you're just kind of
I
a
don't-
passenger on the Titanic.
Like you use these words, these kind of buzzwords, right? You say they have more autonomy. How do women have more autonomy?
Self-determination through choice.
What choices? Which ones?
Essentially, how they want to experience their life. Do they want to get married? Do they want to have children?
They had the option to do that before. They didn't have to get married. Most of the time, women who didn't get married stayed at home with their parents. By the way, right now, most women who don't get married, they often stay at home with their parents. Not a lot has changed in that department.
I mean, I haven't read any statistics that women who don't get married just stay home with their parents.
yes, it's often the case that women who do
that
not
true
get
with men?
married stay at home with their parents. Yeah,
'Cause I
it's
think
often true with men too.
I think single
And it was often
women
true with men then.
home, I think single women home purchases are starting to outpace men.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
So
is
it
often
seems that
the
they're
case.
getting their own. They're getting their own house.
Sometimes. Sometimes, but you got to remember now, children are staying at home with their parents longer than
Sure. So
ever.
obviously, like the conditions that comes to capitalism now is different than it was, in the 1900s.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing is that I don't see how women actually have any more of these things. I don't see how they have any more autonomy. I don't see how they have any more actual choice. It just seems like an illusion of choice.
I would agree with you. There is some oppression within that choice, but I do think the choice is more.
Okay, and it's worth it to have this limited amount of autonomy in order to grind yourself in a capitalist system. Like if you were to ask the average woman, if you were to go back in time, hypothetically, and you were
What
to
time
sit down with first wave feminists, okay, who couldn't seem to get first wave feminism passed any other way than an amendment because women were voting it down all over the place. The question becomes, if you ask them, if we fast forwarded this to 100 years, I just want to let you know that your children will be living at home with you until they're 25. You will have access to college, but you'll have crushing debt, and chances are your marriage is going to fail. Chances are really good that your marriage is going to fail, over 50% perhaps, that your marriage is going to fail. But you'll have a little tiny bit more autonomy, but I won't even be able to exactly tell you how you have more of it. Do you think that they would go for that deal? Or if you said, hang on, or if you said to them, if you don't do this, your husbands will accrue all debt. You'll never have to worry about it again, and you can still make moral claims, and they'll be super effective, just like the temperance movement was, because now you're not political pawns.
Now, this is where Andrew really flips the script. Imagine pitching today's freedom deal to first-wave feminists. Over 50% divorce risk, lifelong debt, kids living at home until 25. But hey, you get a little autonomy. They'd probably spit out their tea. Andrew's point is brutal but fair. Autonomy without security is just a mirage. It's why so many modern debates are full of buzzwords and no reality checks. And let's be honest, this isn't about being provocative for clicks. He's exposing the trade-offs nobody in polite debate wants to admit.
I mean, I think you're kind of constructing the options in a way that would be beneficial to a specific narrative. I think I have cleared how you have autonomy. Like, would you want men to be dependent on women and have women be the predominant mode of production under capitalism?
I don't think it's possible.
But would you want that?
Well, I couldn't want a thing I don't think is possible.
Why?
Because it's not possible.
Well, I mean, why is it not possible?
It's not possible because women are not capable of doing the same types of things that men are capable of doing.
Such as?
Inside of society, enforcement.
Enforcement? Mm-hmm. So like police and
Not military.
military?
Mm-hmm. Military, policing,
I don't think
special
men
services.
I don't think men really are capable of that.
I mean, the men have gone and fought global wars time and time again and won.
Yeah, and what outcomes do they have?
They win the war.
They suffer severe PSD. They have a hard time integrating into society. I mean, that doesn't seem like a natural
there's
condition for men to be subjected to.
There can be symptoms of violence, but remember, not everybody gets PTSD, even combat veterans. A lot of them don't have PTSD. Some get PTSD.
Right.
But not only that, that's a coping mechanism. It's going to be individualistic. Men are definitely capable of
but
extreme...
But it is an outcome of being exposed to extreme violence.
Only for some people.
I could say that about women.
Yeah, you can, but the problem when it comes down to enforcement is that women can't do enforcement.
What do you mean?
So I'll give you the easy hypothetical.
Okay.
If all men tomorrow decide that women in the United States are slaves, are women in the United States slaves?
No.
Her hesitation right there says it all. She knows exactly where this is going, but doesn't want to say it out loud. If men collectively decided tomorrow, there's nothing women could actually do to stop it. And that's not misogyny, that's biology. Men are stronger, faster, and built for enforcement. Even feminist theory admits this. They call it male monopoly on force. The uncomfortable truth is, women's freedom depends on men choosing to be decent, not on some mythical girl boss revolution with pepper spray.
No.
Why wouldn't they be?
I think it would be
how could women stop it?
I mean, it would just depend essentially on like access to resources.
Yeah, men have the access to all the resources because they made you slaves.
Well, that's how women could stop it.
Women couldn't.
It would just be a fight over resources.
How come women can't stop it in Islamic nations? And when they just go, okay, you're all slaves.
Well, obviously, in Islamic nations, they don't have access to specific resources.
Nobody has access to resources if men don't allow access to those resources. Nobody, because men have a monopoly on force. That's feminist theory. Feminists understand that. Even Marxist feminists know this, that men have a monopoly on force. So, in other words, if men collectively...
Under patriarchy, I agree.
No, under any archy, they're going to need to have men as their monopoly on force. I'll give you an example. If tomorrow men decided to enslave all women would be enslaved. However, if tomorrow all women decided to enslave all men, they do not have the force doctrine and requisite necessary to do so. They could not do it. They just couldn't do it
within any context.
No.
So if women had access to all the drones, if women had access to all the water supply,
who repairs them
if
all?
Women had access,
we repair
if women
them all.
had access to, women can have the capacity to repair. I don't understand
Okay, so here's what I would say. Let's do this experiment this way. If women had access to all of the firearms on Earth that exist, okay, and every weapon which exists, and they have access to all of that, they still don't have the requisite brute force that would be necessary to keep men under control. They just wouldn't. It wouldn't be possible to do long term.
What do you mean
even
by
short term?
What do you mean by brute force? That they just wouldn't be able to pull the trigger?
No, that men are much, much, much stronger, and that guns are only an equalizer until men take your guns.
Right, and obviously they would have to get close enough. But I don't care how strong you are if you don't have water and food. What are you going to do?
Well, it's really simple then. Do you think that if you were the head of a prison, would you rather have all male or all female guards? If you were dealing with dangerous prisoners, even if both had access to guns.
I guess it would depend what the goal is. I think
to keep the prisoners who are dangerous under control. I
think women can make really great police officers because they are less likely to use excessive force. They're more likely to de-escalate, where men are more likely to escalate.
More likely to get disarmed, more likely to get beaten up, more likely to accidentally shoot a suspect. They're more likely to do all sorts of things to the contrary as well. But there's also way fewer females who are in the police force because they can't meet the minimum requirements, which are necessary to be a cop. They can't meet the necessary minimum physical requirements. Same thing in the military. They can't meet the necessary minimum physical requirements to be in the infantry. Most women can't do it.
Right.
So men have a monopoly on force, and because of force doctrine, this ends up coming down to this idea. If it is the case, you say that women can do anything that men can do. I counter this by saying they cannot. They cannot do enforcement. This is uniquely a male thing. There are some women who can be introduced who can meet these standards, but on average they can't.
Well, I think if we're to kind of bring it to an analogy, if the fence is 6 feet tall and most women are 5'8", then yeah, of course they're not going to be able to meet that standard. So is the standard just specific to certain male criteria that...
Well, it would be the criteria of you need to handle a male. So if you're a female police officer, you need to be able to handle a male, right?
Yeah, but obviously, like, you have tools to aid in that. That's what I'm saying. Like, just because women aren't meeting these criteria
Do you have to
doesn't
get
mean
close
that...
to a male when you're a police officer as a female in order to put, like, handcuffs on them, stuff like that?
Yeah, but you have, like, pepper spray and stun guns.
Yeah, and routinely women get disarmed, and they're routinely overpowered by suspects. Routinely. Happens often. And
Sure, and men often use excessive force, and then they're sued.
Yeah,
and then
maybe,
people
but
die.
when you say men use excessive force, you're just demonstrating my point that men have a monopoly on force. Yes, maybe it's excessive, but they're capable of using it.
Use force, sure.
No. They're just better at using force because they're much stronger. They're much stronger. They have much denser bones, so they're much more capable.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, so
the average male is stronger, sure.
Well, significantly stronger. It's not an insignificant amount between the average male and average female. Now, I want this point to drive home because it's often stated like, oh, yeah, there's this small marginal difference. No, it's a significant difference. 60, 70% in many cases.
Okay.
Much, much, much stronger. This being the case, men have the complete monopoly on force doctrine because they're much, much, much stronger. Just raw brute force, which if you reduce rights, you reduce society, reduce everything to its rawest principle, it's going to be brute force.
And this is the mic drop. All the buzzwords, all the debates about identity and autonomy, it really comes down to brute force. Men built and enforced the systems that make even these discussions possible. It's not romantic, it's reality. Imagine if tomorrow the monopoly on force vanished. No cops, no military. Forget equality, you'd have chaos in a week. And let's be real, I've seen people panic when the Wi-Fi goes down. Civilization is way more fragile than we like to pretend. Yep, men have the monopoly on force. Take that how you will. But the bigger question is, did feminism really give women more freedom, or just more bills, stress, and antidepressants? I'll let you decide. Drop your take in the comments. I want to see what you think. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. We've got plenty more debates to tear apart.